Welcome to another episode of Spaventoso Speculates. Today we're going over multicolored commander cards you should be buying and probably playing. Got a 31 on the list. Today this is episode 20, so check the playlist for previous episodes, starting off with number 1, Afterlife Insurance. It's an instant. Creatures you control gain Afterlife 1 until end of turn, draw a card. When a creature with Afterlife 1 dies, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. It's used in 0.88% of decks with an average cost of about between $230 to $240. And I think it's been trending down kind of flat for a white-black deck. I think this is a great way to at least get something out of a board wipe. And maybe if there's a spirit commander that comes along in the future, this card might go up. Here's some of the top commanders that are utilizing this card, mostly black and white commanders, but also some 3-color commanders in there as well. So if you are an Orzhov player, make sure to have a couple of these in your collection. Card number 2, Hardened Tactician. Colorless, white and a black for a creature. Human warrior, pay 1 colorless, sacrifice a token, draw a card. This card is kind of new, and it is 25 cents for an uncommon, or about 40 cents, 43 cents for the foil. Anything under 50 cents, you're probably doing pretty good. Now, it is used in 2.66% of decks, but that might be because it's kind of a newer card and everyone's throwing it in the new decks, so it might be a little slanted. But as you can see, there was a little bit of hype initially for this card. It has since dropped off. And I think there are plenty of ways to make tokens in Commander, especially something like a treasure token or a clue token, and might slot into a lot more different kind of decks than just human warrior decks. Here are some of the commanders that are taking advantage of this card. Again, we have Caesar, Legion's Emperor on there. But as you can see, it's a lot of tricolor decks as well that are making use out of this, and some commanders that make a lot of tokens. Up next we have Markov Purifier. It is a vampire cleric with lifelink at the beginning of your end step. If you gained life this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Lots of commanders, especially in white, some in black, deal with lifelink. Vampires and clerics are both, well, vampire probably more so than cleric, are popular creature types. This is 28 cents for a foil and 25 cents for non-foil, so I definitely would be targeting picking up some foil versions of this while the price is still cheap. 2021 is when this card originally came out, so it's still new-ish, but I would imagine some of those foils would start to dry up here. And some of the commanders that are utilizing this, Edgar Markov's pretty popular. Lisa, Shroud of Dusk, another commander. Any commander where you're going to gain life, any deck you're going to gain a lot of life, not necessarily even a vampire deck. I think this might be a good card to slot in just to get some card draw, especially late in the game when you got a lot of mana laying around. Card number 4, Hindering Light. White and a blue instant, counter target spell that targets you or a permanent you control, draw a card. I actually picked up a couple of these myself recently. If you go and watch my mail opening video, I grabbed some Thunder Junction copies. The foil at $1.30 is a little pricey. It is an older foil, but 35 cents for a non-foil. It's used in 1.23% of decks. White and blue. It's good to have some protection. It does have to be a spell that is targeting you or a permanent, not just any spell. But you do get to draw another card as well, so maybe you get a chance to dig for something. that you need. And again, I think this might be like a meta call too. If you got a lot of interaction, a lot of removal coming at you from your pod, this might be a card you want to play if you're in these colors. Here are some of the commanders that make use out of this. It's in almost 10%. Observe the Enchanter decks. Grand Arbiter, Augustin the Fourth. Lots of blue-white decks, but a couple of tricolor decks as well. Captain America, First Avenger. Some people are using it in that. Card number 5, Staggering Insight. 1 in a blue again. This time it's an enchantment or enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Foil under 50 cents. Average price 25 cents for the non-foil. It's used in 1.35% of decks. And I think it works best with some sort of creatures that have evasion. Maybe some flying or unblockable, just to get consistent card draw. You might even be able to slap this on a small creature and make a deal with one of your opponents every once in a while to just deal a couple damage and draw a card. A couple of the commanders here that utilize it. Zer the Enchanter again, Bruna, Light of Alabaster. And Geist of Saint Traft players, 60% of them are using this card. I think they might be onto something. Card number 6, Leave Chance. It's a split card with Aftermath. Leave says return any number of target permanents you own to your hand for 1 and a white as an instant. And then Chance is Aftermath. Cast this spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. So ideally, you use the white side of this card to save your permanents in maybe a board wipe situation, or if you have to make a lot of blocks to save yourself and a lot of creatures you own are going to die, you can pop them all back to your hand. And then once your hand is full of all sorts of junk, maybe you got a lot of lands lying around, a lot of extra mana rocks that you don't need to be using, maybe you can filter them with Chance to grab some better cards and dig deeper in your deck. The foil version is looking particularly enticing for me at 70 cents. But at 40 cents average, you might be able to pick up a play set for under $2. As it is red and white, a lot of red and white commanders are going to utilize this. But yeah, look at index like the First Sliver and Feather the Redeemed. There's even some tricolor commanders that are trying this out. So if you don't have any of these, I advise picking up some copies. Card number 7, another split card, Driven Despair. The Driven side says, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Despair side, Aftermath, until end of turn, creatures you control gain menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. So if you got enough mana, you can do both in one turn. Foil under $1, that's pretty good. The non-foil about 50 cents, used in 0% of decks. Green and black players don't know what they're missing. And that might mean an opportunity for you to get a card and show your pod how good this card could be. Here are some of the commanders that do utilize it. I like it in like some go wide strategies, like maybe Chatterfang or Ethereal Blade of the Elves. But I think any green black deck or green black X commander might make good use out of this. So if you don't have any, you might want to snag some before everyone finds out how good it is. Number 8, Death Reap Ritual. 2 colorless, black and a green for an enchantment, Morbid. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, you may draw a card. A couple of years ago, this card spiked. I think the reprint might have drop the value. It's used in 4.23% of decks. The foil, $3.50 might be a little much, but 40 cents for an uncommon, that seems pretty reasonable. This is each end step, so the potential to draw 4 cards going around the table. And it's not too expensive. It doesn't paint too big of a target on your back. And lots of creatures do die in Commander, so this could trigger quite a lot over the course of a game. Here are some of the commanders that utilize it. Green and black, mostly. Winter Cynical Opportunist players, almost 50% of the decks utilize it. Almost 60% in Thrantis. So if you have a green-black commander, might be worth trying out. Card number 9, Ravenous Squirrel, used in 2.94% of decks. Foil is 50 cents. I think that'd be the one I would be targeting, maybe a playset. For $2, you'd be doing good. It is a creature squirrel. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Ravenous Squirrel. And also a black and a green, sacrifice an artifact or a creature. You gain 1 life and draw a card. It's a great way to draw cards, gain a little bit of life. The life might be negligible, but he could get pretty big, especially in green. If you have a lot of mana rocks and ramp a lot, you'll be able to consistently sacrifice artifacts and creatures to dig deeper into your deck. A couple of the commanders that utilize this, the squirrel commanders, sure. But again, anything that's black and green, I think this can find a home as a 1-drop. Even late in the game, once you do have a lot of mana, I think you can get him pretty big to kind of keep up with the rest of the board state. Card number 10, Twin Blade Assassins. It is an elf assassin. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, draw a card, 5/4. Used in 0.36% of decks. And as you can see, the foil is about 30 cents. 24-cent average market price. And I think that this might be a little pricey for a 5/4. But if you can consistently make sure a creature dies at the end before your turn's over, you can get a card back. I think it's a pretty cheap pickup, especially elves are pretty popular, and once more black and green elf commanders get printed, the market might dry up on this card. Here are some of the commanders that are utilizing it. Not just elf commanders either. Ezio's on there, almost 10% of decks. Smeagol, helpful guides using it as well. Card number 11, Dream Salvage. Dream Salvage is an instant. Draw cards equal to the number of cards target opponent discarded this turn. A couple years ago, this card was about $2. The foil is $6, which is a little bit out of my price range for that. I want to pay for that, but 60 cents average for a non-foil seems like a pretty good deal. You do need to build around it a little bit to make sure either your commander or your deck has ample discard built into this, maybe some wheel effects. It is just 1 opponent, but for 1 mana, if you can get 3, 4, 5 plus cards off of this, I think you're doing good. Here are some of the top commanders. As you can see, a bunch of green-black commanders, but also some tri-colored commanders. Also, I like this one in Una, Queen of the Fae. But also Sig River Cutthroat. And Mask of Riddles for blue and black. You get an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has fear. It can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card equip 2. This card's foil is about $3.60, which is It's a little bit much, but the regular version, 50 cents, seems more reasonable. Fear is pretty great. I mean, people do play black and artifact creatures, but not everyone. So in a 4-player game, might be able to get some free swings in there, get some free card draw. Plus, this one will stick around a little bit better if your creature dies. Now, the commanders that are utilizing this, it's not just equipment commanders. It's all sorts of black and blue commanders. A couple of 3-color commanders like Sauron or Obeka, Splitter of Seconds. I think it's just a consistent way to get some card draw and have cheap equipment that you can toss around on a bunch of different dudes. Card 13, Shadow of Doubt. It's an instant. Players can't search their libraries this turn. Draw a card. The foil's $14, but that's because it's from Ravnica. But the market and average about $2.50. Did shoot up to about $10 in 2016, but it's only used in 0.14% of decks. This might be sort of a pod specific, a play group specific card if a lot of people are using fetch lands or they have combos that require them to search their libraries. You can catch players off guard and make some enemies in the process. But I think it's fun, maybe if you can put it on an Isochron Scepter. Don't let anybody search their library. And to recoup the card after you cast it. I think it's a good card to have in the collection. These are some of the commanders that utilize it. I think I have it in my Yuriko deck. There's also some other 3-color, 4-color, even some 5-color commanders. Niv Mizzet, Reborn, and Supreme both are using it. Card 14, Sleeper's Robe. Blue and a black, enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't be blocked, except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. That's just fear. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. This is the enchantment version of the equipment we saw earlier. The foil's almost $10, but with an average price about 50 cents. I think if you can get a playset of these for $2, it's a good deal. And I think it's better in some maybe enchantment-based decks, but just any kind of commander that needs a little bit of extra card draw, this can be a good option, especially if you have some evasion. Besides, maybe some flying even to give it a little extra evasion, or unblockable. And here's some of the commanders that use it. A Niv Mizzet Guild Pack. Felix 5 Boots, Zur the Enchanter. And this card, Sig, River Cutthroat. Now, I think it's even gone up more than this. I made this list maybe a week ago. And then the Final Fantasy spoilers came out. And this card shot up in price. It might actually be $7, $8, $9 right now. But, yeah, Sig, River Cutthroat. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, you may draw a card. I was thinking to use this in any black and blue deck, not just necessarily as a commander, and it seems a lot of other players might have thought that as well. You might be able to still find some cheap copies at your local card store, but I think the market online is dried up on this one. Here are some of the high synergy cards for this commander. Yeah, Counter Squall, Mistrise Village. Yeah, there's some Final Fantasy cards I think that are people are speculating, so might go back down after some players try to resell some copies or find more. And, moving on along to card 16, Fatal Grudge. Black and red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a non-land permanent. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control that shares a type with the sacrificed permanent and sacrifices it. Plus you get to draw a card. Foil, 25 cents. That'd be the one I'd be looking for. If I can get a playset for $1, just stick these in my collection. I think it'd be doing good. Next time a black and red commander comes along, just throw that in there. Black and red pre-con upgrade. I think this would be an easy slot in for a lot of black and red commanders. I might even check my bulk and see if I have some laying around in my uncommon pile. Let's move on to the commanders here. Jury, Master of the Review, lots of black and red. A couple of 3 colors. Players really like it in the Balrog. And 25% of Lagomos, Hand of Hatred commanders, play this card as well. Card number 17, Bred for the Hunt. 1, a green and a blue enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. The foil's creeping up by almost $1.40, but the non-foil's still 30 cents. 30% of players use this in their decks. It's a great enchantment. You have to build around it a little bit to get some +1/+1 counters. It's not too hard to do in green. As you can see, the commanders that utilize it, they do have a lot of +1/+1 counters. That attracts a Praetor's Voice, Swarm Lord. So if your commander utilizes +1/+1 counters, or if you want to pick some of these up in the event more commanders get printed that it synergizes with, I think now would be a good opportunity. Card number 18 here, Cold-Eyed Selkie. And it's a Merfolk Rogue with Island Walk. Whenever Cold-Eyed Selkie deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. It's a 1/1. Foil, I think this foil might be for an older version. It's using 4.55% of decks, but if you can pick up a foil version from Outlaws of Thunder Junction maybe there's not a commander foil one. Anyway, if you can pick up a non-foil for under $1, I think that's good. It is a lot of people play blue, so Island Walk is going to be pretty relevant, and there's plenty of ways to pump it up and to draw more than one card. Some of the commanders here that utilize it, lots of the Thunder Junction commanders, but I think any green, blue commander, especially one maybe that some of on the previous list that throw around +1/+1 counters, or some pump. You have some pump spells. I think it might be good to draw a handful of cards every turn. Golden Ratio. Draw a card for each different power among creatures you control. Foils, 25 cents. Average for non-foil, 20 cents. Used in 0.39% of decks. You don't have to build around this one too much. Late in the game, you're going to have a lot of creatures out on the board anyway. So I think if you can get 3+ cards off of this, you're probably doing good. Maybe even be able to get 5 or 6 if you build around it a little bit. Here are the commanders that are making use out of this. A lot of the Strixhaven commanders. Obviously, since that's when the card came out, people might have forgot about this one, but almost 19% of Tanzir, Quandrix decks use it. I think it's cheap and easy way to draw a reasonable amount of cards. Card number 20, Growth Spiral, green and a blue instant. Draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. 21% of decks utilize it on EDH Rec. It's quite a lot. So if you can pick up some foil versions of this for $1.50, I think that's pretty good. If you check your bulk, you might want to pull some of these out. It is both card draw and ramp for a pretty cheap price. There are many commanders that utilize this. Storm Force of Nature, I like it in that deck. Almost 77% players in the Calamax, the Stormsire deck, utilize it. Lots of players using this card. I think there's quite a few versions of it as well. So pick one you like, fine, maybe in foil, and grab a couple extra copies for when the next green and blue commander comes out that you want to play. Ice Fang Quaddle is next. It's a snow creature snake with flash flying, and when it enters, draw a card. It has death touch as long as you have 3 or more other snow permanents. Foil's $2. It was $8 at one point. I think some reprints brought that down. It's used in 0.92% of decks with an average cost of $1. You do need to throw a couple of snow-covered basics into your deck if you like playing a lot of basics. This might be a card you want to target. You can definitely catch an opponent off guard who thinks they might have a free swing with maybe their commander or a big old beefy creature, and you can flash this guy into play and trade with them as well as recouping a card. Here's a list of commanders that utilize it. Miss Bumbleflower, Lonus Cryptozoologist, Volo Guide to Monsters. Lots of green and blue decks, but just remember to make sure you got a bunch of basic snow-covered lands to go alongside this one. Card number 22, Lore Scale Quaddle. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Lore Scale Quaddle. Was $2 initially. It has dropped down to under about 25 cents. Foil is $1 for this M21 version, used in 0.57% of decks. Again, with the +1/+1 counter commanders, this is going to be a hot ticket item. And it might be able to shuffle around the +1/+1 counters. Blue, especially if you just have a brainstorm, draw 3 cards, put 3 +1/+1 counters on this guy. There's all sorts of card draw in blue. Here is a list of the commanders that utilize it. Some Flubs the Fool players playing this. Miss Bumbleflower again as well. Card 23, Zamone, Quandrix Prodigy. Pay 1 tap, you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tapped. Pay 4 tap, draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 cards instead. The foil is 35 cents. Average cost 25 cents. And I think not necessarily as a commander, but just any green and blue deck. This is a great way to ramp and then draw cards later in the game. Here are some of the high synergy cards. Card 24, Eruth, Tormented Prophet. If you draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Instead, you may play those cards this turn. 50 cents for a foil, 43 cents for non-foil. I think this might be able to slot into a lot of blue and red decks, not necessarily as a commander. Again, blue and red. You can draw, well, maybe blue mostly when you're going to be able to draw cards. But you'll be able to filter for cards you want. Make sure to not play a land if you play a draw spell, because you might get a land off of this effect, and then you want to play the land that you exiled. But 3 for a 2/4 ain't too bad either. Here are some of the high synergy cards. Even a new Final Fantasy Commander VV's on there. 25, Expansion Explosion. Instant. Copy target instant or sorcery spell with mana value 4 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. Explosion. Explosion deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards. So expansion, probably maybe early game. Explosion, later game. Or expansion, if you are looking to win, it might be a way to kind of cheat a counter spell. Foil, $1.25, used in 2% of decks. Average 50 cents. If you can find a good deal on some foils, I'd pick some up. This card might be a little overlooked. It's pretty versatile. Here's some of the commanders that utilize it. Niv Mizzet Perron and Supreme. Magnus the Red using it as well. Card number 26, Quicksilver Dagger. It's an enchantment or a enchanted creature has tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. You draw a card. $3 for the foil. I'll probably pick up a play set for $1. It's a little bit of a ping, but you mostly want this on here to maybe draw a card each turn, or to get that little bit of extra damage to clear some opponents. Blockers, some of the commanders that utilize it. Some more Niv Mizzets on here. Nicole Bolas, the Locust God. And a lot of Dargo players are utilizing it as well. Prismari Command is card number 27. It says choose 2. Prismari Command deals 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2 cards, then discards 2 cards. Target player creates a treasure token. Destroy target artifact. Pretty versatile. It's been reprinted a few times. 5.3% of players use it. The foil is under $2. Average cost $121. Foil is looking a little bit more enticing. Especially that art looks pretty nice in the foil. The commanders that utilize it, not just blue and red ones, but some 3 colors as well. I think I have it in my Mira the Magnificent deck as well. Almost 50% of Mira players are using it. Almost 80% of Riku of the Many Paths players are utilizing it as well. Number 28, Cease and Desist. Exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. Target player gains 2 life and draws a card. Or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. That end of the card is a little pricey. The foil looks like it might be going up. At the time of recording, it's 25 cents. Which is cheaper for some reason than the market and average prices. So if you can pick up some foils of this, might be a good time. In green and white and black, it does kind of minimize the amount of commanders that utilize it, but 4 color, 5 color commanders are finding some use for this. I like it in the first sliver. Cody Vociferous Codex, Ramos Dragon Engine. I think might find in the future too a 3 color commander might make use of this card as well. We are getting to the end of this list, and future videos I probably won't have this many cards, but on we go. Thunder of Unity, card number 29. It is an enchantment saga. The first part of the saga, you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. And then the second and third both say whenever a creature you control enters this turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So you can go infinite with that. The foil is 30 cents. Average price 25 cents. The card being 3 colors does limit the amount of commanders that utilize it. But again, if you have it in your collection already, and then a commander comes along that's these colors, or another card that synergizes it with it really well, you will already have it for only 30 cents. Here are some of the players or commanders that utilize it. Caesar, Legion's Emperor. Zergo Stormrender is a newer commander. 17% of players are utilizing it. But also Zergo Thunder's Decree. 34% of players use it. And card number 30, Beck Call. Foil, 85 cents. Average, 44 cents. It did spike in 2017. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield this turn, you draw a card. The call side says, put 4 1/1 white bird creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield to infuse. You may cast one or both halves of this card from your hand, used in 0% of decks. And you do need a 3 color commander to use this. I would mostly be using the Beck side probably, but if I got a ton of mana late in the game, combining them would net a good amount of cards. Here are some of the commanders that make use out of this. Again, if you can get infinite mana, you use Beck to draw quite a few cards if you're casting a lot of creatures. And here's our last card on the list, Bound Determined. Bound says sacrifice a creature, return up to X cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors that creature was. Then remove this card from the game. Determined is an instant for green and a blue. Other spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities this turn. Draw a card. The foil is 85 cents. The average cost 44 cents. 0% of decks utilize this. I would mostly probably be using this for the determined side, for when you want to make a big splashy move, or maybe it's before you go infinite and try and win. You can set up your turn with Determined. And here's some of the commanders that utilize it. Child of Alara, Ometh, Locus of All. Not too many players, Togatog players are testing this out, but yeah, I think you can get in on the ground floor of this one before other players find out how good the Determined side is. And that's my list. Thanks for watching. I don't think I'm going to do 30 cards again next time. I'll probably shoot for more like 15. Make the video a little shorter. It's probably going to be over 30 minutes. And here is the cheat sheet if you didn't want to sit through all that. And check the playlist for other similar videos. Thanks for watching.